Hey everyone, it's Pete from Nova Motorcycles here. Um, Today we're going to be talking about sort of our custom build process, just so people have a sense of what that is like if you want Nova to build you a custom bike. We try to think of all the different pieces of a custom build, and a few years ago we started a little checklist that I've been adding to for a few years, and this is a part of it. And right now there's about 203 items on this list that we think about when we're building a custom. Now, every single build doesn't always have all of these items, but a lot of the builds have a lot of these items, and it depends on how far we take the build. Sometimes a build is just cosmetic, and it might be just paint and maybe a new seat or something like that. But even those sort of things you have to think about, because in order to paint a frame, or if you wanted to do a powder coat to a frame, then there's a lot of work that needs to be sort of prepped to do that. And in the case if you wanted to have a special colored frame on a bike, you got to take the whole thing apart and either get it painted or do a powder coat on that. And in the powder coat, you're dealing with high temps, so a lot of the little parts, bearings, things like that, all have to come out too. So there's a long process to it. To sort of summarize that, we have our 1974 CB350 4-cylinder here. This was actually Nova's first build. Sarah and I sort of built this as a project. A friend sold me the motorcycle in okay condition, but a little rough, and we decided to sort of tackle it as our first custom build. It's actually now it's my wife's bike that she rides in the summertime, and it's such a fun bike. The 350 4-cylinder is a fun engine, and it sounds amazing. You're not going fast, but wherever you're going, you're feeling like you're racing everywhere. So it's a really fun bike. So some of the things that a lot of people don't think about when you're doing a custom is the sort of generic safety stuff, especially in Massachusetts. If you want to register the bike and have it inspected, then you have to have a license plate, obviously, but a license plate light, brake lights, blinkers, and there are specifics that the state, if you find an inspection station that is real sticklers, then they might call you out on some of this stuff. Now, this particular bike, I don't think these blinkers will pass Massachusetts inspection, and there's a couple other things, like there's no front fender. So in Massachusetts is one of the most difficult states if you're doing custom work, especially if you're trying to go for that cafe racer look, where they have no front fender, or they, minimalistic blinkers and things like that. On this bike, we did pull it all the way down to the frame. We painted the engine. We had the frame powder coated in this sort of gray color. We think about the shocks. What is we're putting a new chain in. How much of the motor do we need to do work on? Then we're thinking about the paint choices on the gas tank. What are your gauges going to look like? When you do an electronics upgrade, are you switching out from the OEM buttons, blinker lights, kill switch? All of those things have to be thought about. And then not only that, but you have to think about compatibility. So some of the newer stuff works with newer bikes. Some of the sort of modern electronics that you can put in it's a lot easier to put into an older bike than a newer bike. So there's like different ways that we think about depending on what we're going to do and how much the customer wants to do. Like I said, this bike was sort of our project, so we didn't have a customer per se. So we were just building, if we had a CB350, what would we want? Actually, Madhouse Motor helped us with the tank paint. Jay Shia painted that for us. This seat was made by New Church moto out in Portland, Oregon. This is a beautiful seat that she made, and you know, we picked the colors. We did this custom Nova emblem on this. You know, we wanted to sort of brand it right away, and we did a sort of a matching to the seat color, the brown grips, small sort of analog gauges, nothing electronic, but then we had these Moto Gadget mini buttons put in instead of the stock buttons. So, but not only that, but you have to think about, you know, brake reservoir. Where's that going? Clutch levers. You know, if you're going to do this battery delete look, then where do, you know, you're going to go to a pod sort of carburetor air intake. You're going to have to change your jetting a little bit. Where are you going to put the battery? You know, if you want it really slick like this, you're going to have to go to like a lithium-ion battery, which is much smaller. Where does that go? Where does it mount? When you are doing custom seats and seat pans, you got to think about longevity of the material. Anytime you do a custom seat pan, then you know you have to think of how it's going to attach. These are the things on this bike. We did them the way we thought was the simplest, but we learned that it's sometimes harder to maintain the bike because of the way that we attach this just with bolts, and all the newer builds we do a more of a push button system or a latch system on these things. And it's stuff that you just learn after doing multiple builds. So especially if you're going to be the one maintaining it. So you want to make it as simple as possible to take off and on, and not make it so difficult. So one of the banes of my existence is license plates and license plate holders. We actually made a bunch of custom ones so that we wouldn't have to deal with it. They're sort of generic, and we can kind of adapt them to what we're building at the time. But it's just one of those things that like kills the look of a custom, but you absolutely, if you're going to ride it, and we love to build bikes that you can ride, you're going to have a license plate holder and a light. So it's part of the design process, and it's part of what we think about. So that's a little bit of what we talk about when we're thinking about a custom. And if you came to us and asked us to build something, there'd be a lot of these kinds of questions. So if that is interesting to you, then you should like and subscribe to our channel, and we hope to see you around. Call us if you want to do a custom build. All right, this is Pete from Nova, signing off. See ya.